Welcome to the chaos sector. We return to the Matrix. In the previous episode, we presented our theory as to which vehicle was snooping around in the neighborhood, and that would have been the white sedan speeding westbound on White Avenue. Now, some have voiced their opinions about it, which was a bit contrarian. To all of those individuals who claim it's irrelevant at this point, well, think about this. You are viewing content from channels that are investigating. If you believe the vehicle identification and its path is irrelevant, well, that's a bit odd, because it's extremely relevant if that vehicle's identification is exculpatory to the defendant charged with the crime. Ask the defendant if getting to the bottom of this issue is irrelevant. If someone proved that the white sedan on White Avenue was in fact the vehicle spotted in the neighborhood, don't you think Ann Taylor and her client would be eager to obtain that evidence? What if there was surveillance footage leaked out showing that vehicle's path, which would include the same path the suspect's vehicle traveled on Indian Hills? We can't speak for everyone else who has investigated this case, but the chaos doesn't dance at the beating drums from the court. We've stated this time and time again. We don't really care about what's going on in that courtroom until trial comes about, and we predicted this delay would happen as well. The prosecution is not actually prepared to go to trial against the defendant, yet they have the evidence against him. So the vehicle and surveillance being pushed to the side and such, it's just more evidence that they're not relying on the very so-called evidence they are using against the defendant. What's next? They're not going to use the DNA as evidence. Anywho, let's go back to a few things.
We use the Idaho Statesman as the source. We're going to focus on key points of the article. The first thing we find off, which we pointed out in a previous episode, was the conflicting reports of Ethan and Xana's arrival back home. Quote, meanwhile, Kernodle and Chapin, who were dating, were at his fraternity Sigma Chi from about 9 p.m. to about 1:45 a.m., the affidavit said. They arrived back about that time to the King Road property, located about 400 feet away from the fraternity house, where Kernodle lived with Gonzalez, Mogan, and 2 other female roommates who went unharmed in the early morning attack. Kernodle and Chapin actually returned to the King Road house after 2 a.m., according to recent court filings. Unquote. According to recent court filings, we simply go back to the exhibit, which states this claim as a fact. Quote, after spending the evening out, roommates Dylan, Bethany, Kaylee, and Madison returned to their home at 1122 King Road in the early morning hours of November 13th. At approximately 2 a.m., they met up in Kaylee's bedroom and talked for a while before going to bed. The 5th roommate, Xana, who was out with her boyfriend Ethan, was not home yet. The roommates debated going out to a food truck for a late snack, prompting Dylan to send a text at 2:10 a.m. to an Uber driver she knew to see if he was driving. Ultimately, however, the girls decided to just go to bed. Unquote. Who is this according to? It doesn't matter at this point, because this does not align with Dylan's affidavit. That's number one. Second, if Ethan and Xana hadn't arrived back home until after 2 a.m., then where exactly were they? They weren't at the party anymore, right? And Xana's father claimed they were at home around 12 a.m. eating pizza. This means they left the party early. There is no report that claims Ethan and Xana were seen leaving the party around 12 a.m., nor coming back to the party at any point later. So what can we make of this? A bunch of confusion? Simple? Who is confirming that Ethan and Xana weren't at home around 2 a.m.? If Dylan and Bethany were allegedly upstairs in Kaylee's bedroom, how would either of them know that Ethan and Xana weren't home yet? It would be an assumption, not a fact. Now, once they went to their bedrooms, then perhaps you would realize, based on checking Xana's bedroom, that they weren't at home. But it doesn't elaborate on how they knew Ethan and Xana weren't home at 2 a.m. All bullshit. But let's go back to the alleged path law enforcement is throwing out there. Quote, suspect vehicle 1 circled King Road area at least 5 times. Investigators obtained hours of footage from at least 5 cameras around Pullman, including double SU campus, to track a white sedan believed to be the same vehicle, recorded near the King Road house the morning of the homicides, the affidavit said. An FBI vehicle identification expert determined the car to be a white Hyundai Elantra from 2011 to 2016, police said, and labeled it Suspect Vehicle 1. Kohberger owned a 2015 white Hyundai Elantra. The FBI expert initially believed the vehicle to be a 2011 to 2013 model, but later revised it to extend to 2016, police said. Unquote. Okay, not much of a vehicle identification expert if you got the model incorrect initially. Oh, he made a mistake. Yeah, what if this update was made after Kohberger's vehicle was submitted on November 29th? It would seem quite suspicious. Quote, Koberger's defense pushed to bar the FBI expert from using the phrase "suspect vehicle 1" about the car seen in different surveillance videos while testifying at trial. His attorneys argued that doing so was unfairly prejudicial to their client because labeling the cars from various bits of footage as the same vehicle is speculative. But Judge Stephen Hippler, denied the request, ruling there was no legal basis for its exclusion. Unquote. Now, what the defense is basically saying is the alleged Koberger's vehicle being spotted is not the only vehicle in the neighborhood. I don't like this argument from the defense because it is not refuting that Koberger's vehicle was never there. If you're arguing about how many vehicles could have been in the neighborhood, that is irrelevant to the argument that Koberger's vehicle was never there. In that scenario, the defense is essentially accepting the possibility that Koberger's vehicle was there, but doesn't want the so-called FBI expert to label all footage as being only his vehicle. It could be considered reverse psychology, semantics for the sake of court proceedings, or an argument based on not being successful in numerous motions. Nevertheless, stop addressing issues that don't directly challenge the evidence against the defendant. Don't address the issue of the vehicle unless you're arguing it's not his vehicle. It's that simple. And this is why Taylor should only argue that, quote, at 4:20 a.m., the white sedan leaves the King Road area at a high rate of speed and appeared to turn west onto Taylor Avenue to exit the area on the road behind the neighborhood, prosecutors said in court filings. At 5:26 a.m., a vehicle matching the same description is next recorded on surveillance footage at E&S Services at 1300 Johnson Road in Pullman, prosecutors said. Footage from a security camera at Sunset Mart gas station in Pullman showed the car headed north on State Route 270. Cameras on the WSU campus recorded the vehicle making its way north near Beasley Coliseum, which was also about a mile from Koberger's student apartment. Unquote. This is where Ann Taylor should be focusing her attention, regarding vehicle identification and surveillance tracking. Because there is no surveillance footage from any residential business or traffic cam that the prosecution has ever claimed existed showing the alleged Koberger's departure from Moscow. Without this footage, you can't link the vehicle in the neighborhood to a vehicle all the way in another state, regardless if it matches the suspect's vehicle. Furthermore, without clarifying that the suspect vehicle matches the description of the white sedan in Pullman, what prompted you to even search that surveillance in Pullman, searching for that match? You see, Jack's father owned a white Hyundai Elantra. Seeing that driving around somewhere, perhaps in another city in the state, would they think that could be the same suspect vehicle? Or what about the crashed and abandoned white Hyundai Elantra in Oregon? Oh, that's so far from the crime scene. And there was a female driver, so we're not going to obtain traffic cam footage in Oregon, which could possibly be tracked back to Moscow. Or even the vehicle that should have warranted such tracking, being the white sedan on White Avenue. This vehicle was acknowledged, then basically ignored. Yet there wasn't an actual reported investigation into the vehicle. No report on who the owner was. No report on where the vehicle was traveling from. No report on where the vehicle was traveling to. The only report about the vehicle was that it was ruled out. Now let's get into the alleged timestamps of Koberger's path. Mind you, this is coming from law enforcement, including the so-called FBI vehicle expert.
Let's break it down. Quote, at 2:44 a.m., a white sedan, suspected of being a Hyundai Elantra owned by Brian Koberger, was recorded by WSU campus surveillance cameras, headed north on Nevada Street at Stadium Way, according to the probable cause affidavit. At 2:53 a.m., a white sedan was recorded on WSU campus surveillance video, headed southeast on Nevada Street, towards State Route 270, according to the probable cause affidavit. State Route 270 connects Pullman, Washington, to Moscow, Idaho. Now, this is an obvious fact. The state route connects both states. That is obvious. But it is mentioned to allude to Koberger traveling to Moscow, merely from the fact that a state route connects to the victim's state. We'll speed through this a bit. At 3:02 a.m., surveillance video captured by investigators from Floyd's Cannabis Company showed a white sedan on State Route 270 between Pullman and Moscow, prosecutors said in court records. Okay, at 3:02 a.m., they are claiming that surveillance footage from Floyd's Cannabis shop physically displayed a white Hyundai Elantra on 270. This will be important in a moment. At 3:26 a.m., a white sedan was recorded headed west on Indian Hills Drive in surveillance video from 3 residences obtained by investigators, prosecutors said in court records. There is a gap of about 24 minutes from State Route 270 to Indian Hills Drive. Okay, let's continue. At 3:28 a.m., surveillance video obtained by investigators from Sunset Mart gas station in Moscow showed a white sedan about a half mile from the crime scene, prosecutors said in court records. At 3:26 a.m., A white sedan was recorded headed west on Lauder Road toward Taylor Avenue in residential surveillance video obtained by investigators. Prosecutors said in court records. The residential camera recorded the same vehicle again at 4:01 a.m., turning from Lauder Avenue onto Ridge Road, prosecutors said. A pair of residential cameras recorded the movements of a white sedan in the King Road neighborhood, first arriving at 3:29 a.m. and making several laps in the area. It finally parked at 4:07 a.m., prosecutors said in court filings. Between 3:35 a.m. and 3:48 a.m., residential surveillance camera footage obtained by investigators recorded a white sedan several times on Paradise Drive and Ridge Road, prosecutors said in court filings. Residential surveillance camera footage obtained by investigators from the neighboring home recorded a white sedan first at 3:30 a.m. and through 4:21 a.m., prosecutors said in court filings. At 4:07 a.m., the camera records a vehicle's headlights briefly shining on the exterior of 1127 King Road in the nearby cul-de-sac, prosecutors said. And then there was no activity for about 13 minutes. At 4:20 a.m., the white sedan is recorded heading west on Queen Road at a high rate of speed, prosecutors said. The vehicle's actions indicate it turned west on Taylor Avenue. At 4:21 a.m., the camera recorded headlights headed south on Walenta Drive, behind 1119 King Road, prosecutors said. Following the homicides at about 5:26 a.m., surveillance camera video obtained by investigators from E&S Services at 1300 Johnson Road in Pullman recorded a white sedan headed north, prosecutors said in court filings. Now we'll stop right here, because everything else is in Pullman. Let's go all the way back to the alleged point of origin. Now, as we see here, this is the alleged path law enforcement is presenting. At 3:01 a.m., the state claims that investigators obtained surveillance footage from Floyd's cannabis shop showing a white sedan on 270. Okay, no footage has been shown of this claim, but let's just break it down. If the vehicle is traveling on 270 crossing state lines into Moscow, then it has to travel on Highway 8. Since it's traveling on the northern route across state lines, there are a few traffic cams that would spot this vehicle approximately around 3:05 a.m., right? Here they are. Warbonate Drive, the first traffic cam entering Moscow, and then Farm Road, the second traffic cam. The problem here is that without these traffic cams being mentioned, then you can't link the white sedan seen in Pullman to the white sedan seen in the neighborhood. It's being speculated to be the same vehicle. My colleague mentioned how Taylor shouldn't mention anything about the footage within the vicinity regarding continuous footage. What she should establish as an argument instead is that there is no report that the alleged suspect's vehicle has been seen crossing state lines. But let's continue. Also, someone mentioned that showing the traffic cam in the daytime is somehow a problem. That's not the point. The point is the footage itself would spot the white sedan traveling eastbound on Highway 8, heading towards the neighborhood. Investigators have not reported this traffic cam footage showed the white sedan, nor was it even obtained. Now we get to the issue regarding Indian Hills. As we see here, according to the investigators, the alleged Koberger's path would have to travel on Highway 8, Highway 95, both have traffic cameras, and travel on Troy Road, making a right onto Blaine Street, and intersect with Indian Hills, to be traveling westbound on that street. Yet no mention of any traffic cams spotting the white sedan traveling south on either highway. This is the empirical evidence that at the very least, the state can prove that a white sedan was spotted by traffic cams that matches the description of the suspect's vehicle in the neighborhood, right? Yet, I guess it's not important. Oh well.
But it is important if they were actually trying to track the path of the alleged suspect. You have a claim of the vehicle spotted on 270, heading eastbound, and then the next point of reference regarding surveillance footage is on Indian Hills Drive, traveling westbound. You have at least 6 or 7 traffic cameras in town before you reach Indian Hills. And that's not even including the state line traffic cameras. As a matter of fact, let's count them. We have Warbonade's traffic cam. As mentioned prior, this is the first traffic camera entering or departing Moscow, Idaho. This should have been a key point of reference for law enforcement, since they allude to this being the path taken into Moscow, right? Then you have Farm Road's traffic cam, the second most important traffic camera entering and departing Moscow. Then you have Stadium Drive, mind you. All of these cameras would capture the white sedan during a time frame where there wouldn't be as much traffic on this highway. Then you have Line Street, you have Jackson Street, you have 6th Street, and you have Troy Road, a major intersection, where there is no question a white sedan would have been spotted here. Now this would be 7 traffic cameras heading eastbound and southbound. And yet there hasn't been a claim by law enforcement, including the so-called FBI vehicle expert, that the white sedan was spotted by any of these cameras But the public is supposed to believe that the vehicle was spotted by surveillance on 270 heading eastbound, and also that the vehicle was spotted traveling westbound on Indian Hills Drive. How? You're not piecing the path together with key points of travel upon arrival. So how can you follow the vehicle's path from 270 to Indian Hills Drive without literally tracking that path with surveillance footage? It's like a broken link, right? We're missing a key link to the chain. If the vehicle was spotted by those cameras, it would have been included in the timestamps of the alleged path of the vehicle. If there was a claim that the vehicle was spotted departing near the liquor store on Highway 8, then wouldn't the vehicle also be spotted arriving by that same camera? Of course it would, because this would be the path the alleged Koberger took entering Moscow and departing. Nevertheless, this would be the path they claim Koberger took to get to the neighborhood, spotted near Airport Road, where Floyd's cannabis shop is located. Then leapfrogs all the way to Indian Hills traveling westbound. When I say leapfrogged, the same surveillance footage that captured the vehicle on Airport Road heading eastbound in Moscow, the vehicle would be sniped by all of the traffic cams traveling on Highway 8, Highway 95, and other traffic cameras before reaching Indian Hills. I guess the traffic cameras were malfunctioning that night. Yep. Heads westbound on Lauder Avenue, then Taylor Avenue, reaches the neighborhood, travels on Sunnyside Avenue, circles Queen Road Apartments, then spotted on Paradise Drive. This would be from 2:44 a.m. to 4:07 a.m. Then we have the departure, which is even more of a mystery. Fucking where's Waldo? The alleged path departing has only two physical roads that can be confirmed. That would be obviously departing the neighborhood, then exiting on Walenta Drive. See-through E is not based on any surveillance footage capturing the vehicle. Blaine, Idaho, Genesee, Idaho, and Uniontown, Washington have to be based on cellular data. An officer claimed that he assumed the vehicle exited on Conestoga, then West Palouse River Drive. Now the problem here is that this conflicts with the report that the vehicle was spotted departing on Highway 8 near the liquor store. This would be a departure heading westbound to the northern state line. So which one is it? Neither, because Koberger's vehicle was never there. Again, Blaine, Idaho is a cell phone ping. Genesee, Idaho is also a cell phone ping. And we can even suggest that Uniontown, Washington is a cell phone ping, which segues us to that issue. The cell phone data is also key, because based on the physical location of the cell phone, it wasn't in Moscow. Cyrey pointed this out, showing that Koberger's cell phone was located opposite of Moscow. And well, the judges could care less about the evidence. So what they did was use the cell phone data based on pings in the state of Idaho, along with the claim the phone was turned off to commit the murders, yet ignore the physical location of the cell phone during the time of the murders. Oh, okay, I see how it works. Quote, court documents providing an alibi for Koberger stated he was out driving in the early morning hours of November 13th, 2022, as he often did to hike and run or see the moon and stars. He drove throughout the area south of Pullman, Washington, west of Moscow, Idaho, including Wawawai Park. The document said a cell site location information expert will testify that cell tower data shows Koberger's mobile device was south of Pullman, Washington, and west of Moscow, Idaho on November 13th, 2022, and that Brian Koberger's mobile device did not travel east on the Moscow-Pullman highway in the early morning hours of November 13th, and thus could not be the vehicle captured on video along the Moscow-Pullman highway near Floyd's cannabis shop, unquote. Now, Cyrey had already revealed this, but let's think about where this is physically located. Sure, many have examined it, but we're focusing on it in depth now, in relation to Bonnie's white sedan speeding down White Avenue. Yep.
Cyrey has Koberger traveling southwest of Moscow, Idaho, as seen here. Now we took a trip to the park, well, through Google Maps at least, and just the travel to that park seems very serene, very soothing, very peaceful. A silent travel to escape the nonsense of the inner city. Open fields, mountains, and then you have the skyline at night. Very peaceful. The path on the road takes you to the county park as seen here. And then Eureka, a beautiful sight to behold. Nature at its finest, right? So physically seeing this scenery, surely it would make the alibi seem more believable. Old hag Nancy Grace and others made a mockery of this alibi, of going to view the moon and stars at this park. Yet it's something that many in Pullman may have done, especially college students, a nice road trip, and then chill out at the park away from the nonsense. It's a popular park for residents of Washington, so for Koberger, a 30-minute drive to experience such a scenery was perhaps a common thing. Now let's leave the beauty alone and get back to the point. If Koberger's cell phone places him near this area, which is southwest of Moscow, how can the state refute the cell phone data? They will try to rebuttal with cell phone pings on the eastern region in Idaho, and that his DNA was discovered in the home, and the vehicle matches the description of his vehicle. Sure, credible rebuttals at face value, but without the actual proof, the vehicle entered Moscow. How can you place his vehicle in the neighborhood, regardless if it matches the description of his vehicle? You need to verify the claim his vehicle was spotted heading eastbound near Floyd's cannabis shop on 270, and you need to verify the claim his vehicle was spotted departing, heading westbound near the liquor store on Highway 8. These are both claims by law enforcement, and there isn't any claim of spotting the vehicle by any of the traffic cams heading to the home, nor traffic cams departing from the home. I think I know why Koberger's cell phone pings in Jeunesse, Idaho and Blaine, Idaho. Wawawai County Park, of course, has a road that leads to the park. There's a road called Wawawai Road that travels along Snake River. This road, traveling southbound, crosses state lines as well. It takes approximately an hour and 15 minutes to take this path back home. I mean, it's easier to just head back the way you came. But if the experience is what Koberger was intended to grab, he would also travel back home on Wawawai Road heading south along the massive river. Now, the reason we believe his phone pings in those towns is, well, it's because he entered Idaho momentarily heading back north, so traveling eastbound, his cell phone pings in those towns because of the region. First in Genesee, Idaho, then traveling northbound on 195, it pings in Blaine, Idaho. The time in which the ping was reported to be detected in Blaine, Idaho was approximately 4:48 a.m., if we're not mistaken. This appears to simply be a cell phone ping traveling northbound on 195, heading back to Pullman. Yet it was alluded to Koberger being in Moscow departing at 4:48 a.m., and his cell phone comes back online pinging in Blaine, Idaho. From 50 a.m. to 5:27 a.m., pings once more near Jeunesse, Idaho, then Uniontown. The trajectory of these pings is heading south, yet we believe this pinging is actually north, back to Pullman, from the park. Never seen a case where a light bulb at night can't be tracked back to another state by surveillance, yet it's spotted all in and out of the neighborhood where the crime was committed. Really think about this, because at this point, there is an arrival not confirmed with any surveillance, and there isn't a departure confirmed with any surveillance. Yet the vehicle was leaving the neighborhood at a high rate of speed? Let's cut straight to the chase here. The white sedan spotted by the gas station surveillance is the same vehicle snooping around in the neighborhood. The state will be displaying all of the surveillance from the neighborhood in the vicinity. They will even bring in that so-called FBI vehicle identification expert to prove the vehicle was a Hyundai Elantra. And if the defense gets caught up in there not being continuous surveillance footage, proving it's the same vehicle as incredible argument, well, this hurts their client. Taylor has to first establish that Koberger wasn't even in the town of Moscow during nor after the murders. Everything else in surveillance will be a no contest. If Cy-Ray can prove once again that Koberger's cell phone geolocation was southwest of Moscow, then the judge and jury are faced with a mystery. Yep, the mystery of how the defendant's DNA was discovered in the home. The vehicle has been claimed to be an Elantra, but there isn't real concrete evidence based on what has been revealed. If there were some of those traffic cams, then maybe the vehicle's identity would be verified. Wishful thinking, I guess. A white sedan is spotted traveling eastbound on Highway 8, headed to commit a quadruple murder. Yep, Stadium Drive's traffic cam near the liquor store would catch it red-handed, right? The white sedan is spotted hauling ass out of town, driving back westbound on Highway 8 after completing the mission. This would be what the evidence would reveal, you see? Seems we're more eager to spot the vehicle than law enforcement. At least we're displaying the actual traffic camera. What could be possible here is that Koberger was interacting with, or indirectly involved with, individuals who used his vehicle against him. Some believe Koberger was associated with Bonnie and Clyde due to drugs. Can't agree, can't disagree. But what seems to be more logical, to the chaos at least, is that very drug element is how Bonnie and Clyde became alarmed of Koberger's prying eyes on campus. This could hurt their profits, as many WSU students were obviously meddling around with drugs. He becomes a target, and becoming a target, his vehicle was a target as well. And what do you know, how ironic that they had something in common. Bonnie's lover boy has a brother who ironically had a white Hyundai Elantra parked in the driveway. This was in Spokane, Washington. This was carefully planned, my friends. You see, just take the same concept of Koberger allegedly visiting the neighborhood 12 times prior, snooping around, stalking the housemates and such, and apply this activity to it being done to him. Bonnie was at the home in that body cam footage of a noise disturbance. Everyone has come to the consensus that was her. If she was at the home when she's definitely not a college student, then she's there for another reason. And that reason, based on who she is, aligns with the theory of the murders being drug-related. And if it was drug-related, then not only is she involved, maybe not an actual killer, but someone in that home had to give the green light. That someone has a connection to the pushers in town. So in conclusion, the reason the suspect's vehicle is important and will continue to be important is because it exemplifies the frame. Not sure if you've been paying attention, but that's what the chaos has been exposing all this time. This is the chaos sector.